In this uncertain and bewildering world of personal computers, the Tandy 2000 stands apart. In power, speed, and graphics, the Tandy 2000 is clearly superior. For service, support, and software, Tandy is clearly superior. Available exclusively at Radio Shack Computer Centers. Compare. You too will immediately recognize Tandy technology, service, and support are clearly superior.
To make it so tasty that no one else will do. They call me mellow yellow, just butter it. They call me mellow yellow, yes, butter it. They call me mellow yellow.
Well, how's city living?
Dad, just fine.
As usual, your mother worries about what you're eating.
Tonight, tell her I'm having a wonderful spaghetti dinner.
No 300-calorie meal beats Schneider's new lifestyle entrees for real homemade taste. Because at Schneider's, if we can't make it better, we just won't make it. New lifestyle entrees from Schneider's.
Didn't I tell you she'd be doing great?
The Canadian barbecuer, the most critical, demanding, uncompromising critter that ever grilled a hamburger, has made Kingsford charcoal #1.
All charcoal isn't the same. I want a charcoal that lights fast. Kingsford.
Fast lighting's fine, but I need long-burning charcoal. Kingsford.
Long burning's okay, fast lighting's okay, but I need even heat. Kingsford.
Kingsford. Lights fast, burns long, cooks even. Just a few reasons tough critics like you made Kingsford #1.
Pink, white, gold, white. Soft soap. For hand cleaning, soft soap is the equal of any of them. Looks, soft soap beats them all. Lastingness, soft soap goes farther than the best of them. But what's really neat, soft soap stays neat. No mess, no contest. Soft Soap brand liquid soap. Soap without the soapy mess.
Okay now, no peeking. Who baked these crisp and chewy cookies?
My mommy.
Not your mom, but someone who's a friend.
My Auntie Cassie.
Homemade taste is what's gonna fool you. Crisp and chewy chocolate chip down to the end.
My rabbit.
Mr. Crisp's crisp and chewy cookies. Crisp and chewy is what a cookie should be. Taste homemade and the man who made them, his name begins with C.
Mr. Crispy, you make good cookies.
From now until February 27th, there are two great events on Earth. One of them is at the Bay. The other you know about.
Babies all over Canada are flipping over new improved Loves. Because now Loves is even more comfortable than ever before. You see, new improved Loves doesn't leak as often as the other leading disposables. So the bottom line is, your baby will flip over new improved Loves, because your baby's comfort begins with Loves.
Lunch?
I grabbed a pizza.
Lunch?
I grabbed a burger.
Canada's Food Guide says vegetables are an important part of a balanced diet.
Lunch?
I grabbed a hot dog.
What about vegetables? Have a V8.
When you don't have a lot of time, vegetables can be hard to come by. One delicious way to get some of the goodness of vegetables is V8 Vegetable Cocktail.
Thanks for putting me straight, Laura.
V8, one way to help keep your diet straight.
This is where I spent the last 3 years of my life. I won't tell you why, because it doesn't matter anymore. The important thing is, I paid for it, and I learned from it. I'm in a halfway house now, and they're helping me turn my life around and get a job so I can support my kids when I get them back. I know it's going to be tough, but I'm going to make it. Thanks to you, I'm not coming back.
Winnipeg needs the United Way.
By the power of Grayskull. The cosmic exploits of He-Man and the sinister masters of the universe.
Adventure today at 3:30.
We now return to Alvin and the Chipmunks.
This wine looks excellent. Wait, don't tell me. French, of course, crisp and dry. I can hear the vines on the south side of the hill saying...
Entrelac?
Entrelac. Brights? Canadian? Oh, not possible.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Entrelac, white and red wines created in the French style at a Canadian price.
Yes, it is.
Breakfast is not usually the most exciting part of Sarah Smith's day. But this morning, Sarah is in for a shake-up.
Shake it up, shake your tang. Start your day with the tang wang. Tang's fresh taste, loved by all. Here comes your morning shake-up call. Shake it up with tang. Shake it up with tang. Every morning with
Tang orange flavor breakfast crystals with vitamin C. Shake it up.
Ontario's energy savings plans are working. At Commerce Court, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce implemented a program to reduce lighting and use heating, ventilation, and air conditioning more efficiently. Throughout the complex, only essential lighting is left on overnight. The result? Energy consumption has been cut by about 25%, or $60,000 each month. For help with savings plans for your home or business, write Energy Ontario, Queen's Park, Toronto, M7A 2B7.
potato chips with the one and only flavor that keeps you coming back. Potato chips, they're always fresh and crisp and true for you. But when you've got the munchies, nothing else will do. Potato chips.
You've got a way. On the next evening at Fox, country legend Johnny Cash. Full up that I can't hide. For you, I know I even try to turn the tide. Because you're mine, I walk the line.
And a visit aboard Old Ironside. Join us for a patriotic jubilee on the next evening at Fox. Wednesday night at 9:30 on Channel 17.
Yeah, when it hits 50, sell 10,000.
With a Radio Shack cellular phone, you're in business all the time.
I'll have a firm offer in your hands in 20 minutes. Yeah.
The drywall's coming in tomorrow. Hey.
I'm running late. Can you pick up the kids?
The CT100 mobile phone is on sale now for only $899, including a glass mount antenna and 12 months of Cantel's mobile message voicemail service.
Kablooey! Like Mount St. Helens. Yeah. How soon can you get here?
He is the most feared and powerful warrior, a ninja who explodes onto America. His soul transforms her into a lethal assassin.
Who are you?
Her only hope is Yamato, the master ninja who has been sent to destroy him. An epic struggle of superhuman strength and supernatural forces. Ninja 3
starts this Friday. Check your local listings.
The sale of the century is here. Wilson's 100th annual summer sale is on now. Throughout the store, you'll discover the kind of values that Wilson's name was built on. Buy with confidence, knowing that you get real value for your dollar, just as thousands have for generations. This is your chance to invest in fine furniture for your home at greatly reduced prices. The 100th annual summer sale is on now at Wilson's Better Furniture, Main at Graham. A store full of value, a century of tradition.
I know we're friends, Doug, but some things are just too good to share. I'm sorry, but chocolate fudge is my #1 favorite.
Magic Moments. It's the rich, creamy pudding that's made with skim milk.
Tell you what, if they ever make liver flavor, I'll let you have the whole thing, okay?
Magic Moments pudding from Jell-O. One of life's richer moments.
Ever get the feeling you're just part of a process?
or even things you eat have been laser designed or punched out in the name of
Progress or convenience? Well, I'm a natural person. So for an excellent source of calcium, I naturally choose cold, delicious milk. Refreshing. After all, why should I take my calcium with a glass of water when I can enjoy it in a glass of milk?
Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope everybody's doing very well. Man, yeah, it's an early one for me. I don't usually go live this early. But I wanted to go to the gym later because I've really been slacking on that. And I've been trying to now, as you guys know that last week, Ruby Franke, who's the mom of the 8 passengers thing, and her therapist friend, I already forget her name. Because I really don't even want to like I don't pay people like this any attention if I can help it. Like it's bad enough that Ruby Franke became rich off the backs of her children. Yeah, Jody something Meyer. She became rich off the backs of her kids, and as we now know, we she was abusive towards them the entire time, and channels like the Dad Challenge podcast have been pointing this out for at least 3 years. So, hold on, Mistaken Reaper, thank you so much. Remember for 5 months. Thanks, buddy. Hello, the Glare buddy. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are as well, my friend. Now, Hildebrandt. Yeah, Hildebrandt. Thank you. Yeah. Weirdo. So, but we went over the 911 dispatch stuff. A lot of channels did, and the 911 dispatch gave some pretty explicit details as to what was going on. And Cherry and I have tried to find the actual 911 call that was placed, but it's difficult to find. But there is one particular news source. I believe it's a radio news source, and KSL News. I believe it's like a news radio news source, and they have a YouTube channel, and they're even live right now, but they're not talking about this. But they did put out late last night. They did put out a a video, a news clip that we're going to go over that has a snippet of the 911 call. Now, I don't have the 911 call in its entirety. And maybe we'll just go over that right now real quick. The only thing that I can do is play the TikTok video that KSL News put out in regards to the call. So I'll go over that real quick. I'll just play that because that's the most of the 911 call that I could find, and they seem to be the only ones that have gotten it. So and the link for KSL News, their YouTube channel is in the description. So if you want to subscribe to them, just go on into the description of this video and click on that and give it a like, or and subscribe to them. But here we go. Hold on.
I just had a 12-year.
We're partner. I'm on the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
This is an audio recording of the 911 call that led to the arrest of Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt a week ago. My name's Daniela Rivera. I'm with KSL Investigators, and our team obtained this recording through a public record request. I'm going to play some clips from the call for you here.
We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs. He's hungry and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. He escaped.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad that he was able to make it to
We're on their way.
he could be safe.
Jody Hildebrandt is up there right now.
Okay.
So she may come looking for him here soon, but he's not gonna, obviously. I mean, we need the cops here as soon as possible.
Okay. So yeah, that was pretty difficult to listen to because this man was obviously very heartbroken for this kid who showed up at his house asking for help, and at one point you do hear him say that he has wounds. So obviously there's not a lot of detail as far as extent of his injuries, but he did state, as we already knew, that he had duct tape on his feet, and that he was definitely detained, according to this gentleman, and that he was hungry and thirsty and asking for him to call the police. And you could tell he was a little nervous about Jody Hildebrandt, because this was the house. It was Jody Hildebrandt's house that this young boy escaped from. And what, as I understand it, a lot of people are asking about the father. Is the father going to be charged? Because he was obviously involved in a lot of the exploitation in regards to the 8-passenger stuff, and he was a big part of that content that they were capitalizing off of for a long time. But apparently he left a year ago. He left the house where they were all living together a year ago. But he has since, as I understand it, moved back in to the house. But we're going to go over some interesting stuff here, because this KSL news source did a pretty extensive little piece. Normally these little pieces are about three minutes long, like tops. This one's a little over 6 minutes, but we're going to go ahead and go over that real quick. And it definitely gives a little bit more detail.
KSL News at 6 starts now.
Good evening.
Now, again, this channel that I'm streaming right now, the link for this channel is in the description of this video. So
Our top story tonight, team coverage with new information about what authorities knew about a former YouTuber accused of abusing her children and when.
Police records first obtained by the KSL investigators today reveal several visits to Ruby Franke's Springville home last year.
We'll begin with KSL investigator Daniela Rivera, who just this evening obtained a recording of 911 calls that started this criminal case. Daniela?
Well, Mike and Deanie, we want folks to know this call is difficult to listen to. We are now hearing what police dispatchers heard as they were asked to respond to Jody Hildebrandt's home a week ago after Ruby Franke's child escaped and went to a neighbor's home for help.
His ankles are taped up and he won't tell us why. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Now, for years,
okay, he's just said he's obviously covered in wounds. So I mean, who knows the extent of what this poor kid endured. Apparently they were starving him, and they wouldn't give him any water. I don't understand people who can treat anyone like this, much less a child.
Ruby Franke would call police from time to time to report things like juveniles playing pranks in her neighborhood. But last year, that changed as others with concerns about Franke's children started calling for help. And what we've learned now raises questions about whether authorities could have intervened sooner.
Connections. I'm Jody Hildebrandt. And I'm Ruby Franke.
Sharing parenting advice.
Yeah, so parenting advice, unreal. Yeah, some of you guys are saying well, Gina F is saying that you hope that she and my StreamYard is frozen, so my StreamYard chat is frozen, so unless I look at my phone, I can't see anything that you guys are saying. But Gina F said that she hopes that she represents herself. I don't think she's going to. This woman's got plenty of money that she made off the backs of her own kids. So she's got plenty of money, and she's going to hire an attorney. I going over the last week we went over one of Josh from the Dad Challenge podcast's videos on this. And excuse me. And he was saying that at one point she was hiring a very, very prominent attorney that like all of the Hollywood elites like to use. And that was just to pass out lawsuits at people who were talking bad about her, from what if I remember correctly. Now, so I don't think that she's going to represent herself. You know, people with this kind of money, they tend to be pretty smart, and it would not be a smart thing for her to try to represent herself. Why she would even attempt to do that is not. Yeah, I don't think she's going to do that. And honestly, be prepared. Be prepared for the worst. Be prepared for any kind of, you know, sleazy defense lawyer tricks that a defense lawyer is paid to do. Be prepared for that. Because I mean, look at the facts that we have so far. Yes, this child was clearly abused. They charged the mom with abuse, and they charged this Jody person with abuse. And it's Jody's house that this was taken in, that this happened in. I have no doubt in my mind, based on the behavior that we saw in a lot of the footage that Josh went over, as far as the 8 passenger stuff, that content, I have no doubt in my mind that this is the kind of snake of a woman that's going to throw this friend of hers under the bus. I have no doubt in my mind. So if that lawyer can find a way to pin all of this stuff on this Jody person, that's what that person's going to do. That's what that lawyer's going to do. I'm sure of it.
Online, Ruby Franke and her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, regularly released videos like this one that police say were filmed in Hildebrandt's Ivan's home.
You're not going to hear anything like this in any parenting book.
The same home one of Franke's children escaped
You
from
think?
a week ago, prompting an investigation and felony child abuse charges against both women. Now, records obtained by the KSL investigators from Springville Police reveal officers responded to Franke's home in Springville 15 times between March 2019 and last week, and at least 5 of those visits were to assist Utah's Division of Child and Family Services. In April 2022, records show DCFS asked
Okay. Here,
Springville PD to drive through the neighborhood. They'd received a report about children running out in the road unsupervised. Police responded.
Okay, so that's interesting to me, because could this be another case of DCFS failing these kids? Because following these cases in this community, it happens all the times. It just happens all the time. Okay, let me look at the. Oh, this guy was live earlier, but I'll check that stream out. I'll go over that stream. Thank you, Cherry. So yeah, so I'm wondering if I mean, you have all of those DCFS responses, but you know, how much follow-up should they have done, and did they do enough? Did they do everything that they could within their legal powers? Were they just good at hiding the evidence? Or did you just not find? Did DCFS just not find enough evidence to take the kids away, or bring the police in to charge them? But DCFS is obviously asking for police intervention here. And then we have to wonder, we hear a lot of stuff about the LDS community, and we have to wonder if this is also a case of the LDS, this being a very prominent and very predominant LDS area. Could there be just a simple case of LDS, members of the LDS community looking out for each other, giving each other a little pass? Because we hear stories about that all the time. I don't know. I don't know.
Wanted, but didn't see any kids. Then in September last year, Franke's oldest daughter, now an adult, asked police to check on her younger siblings after hearing from neighbors that Franke had left them home alone in Springville for days. According to police records, the kids were seen through the windows but would not answer the door. But neighbors told officers.
Yeah, let me address Team Brittany's comment here. Sorry, and if I miss your comments, I apologize, because I can't see them on my computer screen here. I have to kind of glance at my phone to see the chat. But Team Brittany, you're saying, wouldn't Ruby notice her child was covered with wounds and wonder why if she had no knowledge of it? I don't think that defense will fly. That's the thing is, you have to be able to prove that because what I'm guessing could happen, I'm not an attorney, but what I'm guessing could happen is if there's a stronger case against Jody, then what they'll probably end up doing, what could happen, I don't know if they'll probably end up doing, I don't even know if there's a probability of it, but what could happen, what there's a possibility of, is that they may have a stronger case against Jody than Ruby, and then they could lessen the charges on Ruby. They could reduce the charges against Ruby as something to the effect of just knowing that these things happened, or not reporting, or something to that effect, or whatnot. And then and then they could put most of the brunt of all the charges on this Jody person, and probably even have in exchange for Ruby getting lesser charges, have her testify against Jody. That's quite a possibility, but a likelihood I couldn't tell you if it is or not. I'm just saying these are things that one could expect.
Ruby Franke would leave her children home for extended periods of time and go to St. George to spend time with her friend Jody Hildebrandt, and they were very concerned about the children. Records show police went back to the Springville home 4 more times after that to assist DCFS. In a statement, the Child Welfare Agency said it cannot release any information, citing confidentiality and privacy concerns. We also asked whether DCFS...
Yeah, you have to understand, like, they're not going to... I mean, when there's all these minors involved, they're not going to share details of what's going on with these kids. Like, to this day, we know that Summer Wells' brothers were taken from the home by DCFS or CPS, whatever you want to call it. We know that this happened, but we still don't know. And even though there's a lot of bullshit YouTube channels out there that act like they do, but we have no idea as to what the circumstances were as it pertains to why the kids were removed from the Wells home. We could speculate all day, but we don't know. And the reason why we don't know is because when there's minors involved, DFACS they can't share information involving minors. They just simply can't. It's not like when an adult gets arrested, and charged, and there's public record police reports and affidavits. That's not how it works when it comes to kids. DFACS's job is to protect families and children. That's the Department of Children and Families. That's what it stands for. Department of Children and Family Services. That's what DCFS stands for. So their job is to protect the best interest of those children. And exploiting their privacy is not part of their job. It's counterproductive to what they're supposed to be doing. So we're just not going to know. We're not going to hear anything from DCFS in regards to these children.
DCFS is reviewing its prior involvement with the Franke family to determine whether policies and best practices were followed. DCFS has not answered that question. Mike and Deanie?
Insightful look into this. Daniela, thank you. And as we continue to learn more about these disturbing allegations in this case, we're also hearing for the first time from neighbors.
News special Shelby Lofton continues her team coverage tonight. She is live in Utah County with more. Shelby?
Yeah, Mike and Deanie, we spoke with several neighbors, and they did not want to go on camera citing some privacy concerns that they had, but they said that they saw the red flags coming from the Franke household, and they did try to help these children. The neighbors told us it was very frequent that they saw the Franke children out playing in the neighborhood with other children. Were walking to church until a few months ago, and that's when everything changed. Multiple neighbors told us that's when Ruby and her younger children stopped showing up to church, and they didn't see very much of the kids outside the home. Mothers here told me it was clear the Frankes were very strict with their children. They said when the Franke children were over for play dates, they would make comments about not being allowed to have food or drinks when they were being disciplined. Neighbors were aware others in the community had contacted authorities about this situation. They said the behavior they saw was hard to label as abuse. They had suspicions the children were being mistreated, but didn't have concrete evidence of it, especially not evidence of physical abuse. Neighbors told me everyone noticed the Frankie's windows being covered in paper earlier this year. We drove by the Frankie's house today. No one looked like they were home, but the front door, which looks like it's cracked, is covered in several strips of black tape. Neighbors told us Kevin Franke, Ruby's husband, moved out of the family home about 1 year ago. I talked to his lawyer today. He says Kevin Franke is now back at that address. Many are asking where Kevin stands in this child abuse investigation, and I reached out to his lawyer for comment. He told me in part, quote, Kevin is a very kind, very soft-spoken guy. He's been a great dad, and he is following the guidance of the juvenile court. His lawyer also pointed out that Kevin has not been charged or arrested. A neighbor said around the time Kevin moved out is when Ruby started working closely with life coach Jody Hildebrandt. She is the owner of the Ivan's home, where police say one of the Franke children escaped.
So that's interesting. So apparently, according to the neighbors, the dad, Kevin, moved out of the home a year ago, as I stated earlier, but has since moved back in recently. And what I don't understand, I mean, what is the nature of the relationship between Ruby and Jody? Like how much influence does this Jody person have over Ruby's own family and her kids? And why did Kevin leave? Because I hate to find out that it's because there was abuse going on and Kevin was like, this is too much for me, I'm leaving. Because that would be highly disappointing. That would be grossly disappointing. That would be his answer in dealing with this. Because this is not, I mean, that's not a great dad. A great dad would do everything he could to protect his kids, to get them out of that environment. So, but the thing is, I mean, if that's the case, it just, the whole calling him a cuck when we watch him in these videos where he just seems to go with the flow and follow the lead of the mom, Ruby, who's running the show, apparently. He seems to just be like, this is how it is, and blah, blah, blah. And probably just wants to avoid any arguments with her. She probably is a very powerful force in that household. And for lack of a better term, wears the pants in the in the household. And dude just doesn't stand up for himself, doesn't stand up for his kids. And I just find it coincidental that as soon as he's out of the picture, he ends up having this close relationship with Jody. And I'm not trying to imply that it's of a sexual nature or anything like that. I really don't care. I think that that's irrelevant. What I'm talking about, though, is why did they have such a close relationship all of a sudden after dad's out of the picture? And now there's paper being taped onto the windows. The kids stopped going to church. And likely because if these kids are suffering from physical abuse, they're leaving marks, and it's so nobody at church will ask questions. This is very common in child abuse cases. So, yeah, Ruby definitely seems very domineering. This is just crazy, but it's pretty wild that the neighbors seem to know a lot, so I'm also taking a bit of what the neighbors are saying with a grain of salt, because look at the neighbors in Summer Wells case. You know, they seem to know everything. And now they all have YouTube channels of their own, and they're just capitalizing off of the back of Summer Wells. So, I mean, who knows? Okay. So Jody and Ruby met because Jody was her son Chad's therapist and then started connections together. Okay.
Out of that window. And we know that Jody and Ruby are both being held at the Purgatory Correctional Facility. We know that they both have a court hearing down in St. George this coming Friday, and KSL will have coverage of that hearing, and we'll let you know what comes out of it. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, quite a bit to sort out here. All right, thank you much. Stay with KSL as we continue following the case against this former mommy influencer to get caught up on what we know.
Okay. So the Purgatory Correctional Institute. I was like, what? Give me 1 second, guys. Let me refresh my StreamYard, see if that works. Give me one moment here, folks. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. So now it's not even telling me how many are in chat, but and the chat's just not moving. So I don't know what's going on with StreamYard right now. But it is what it is. So if I miss any comments or any super chats or memberships or anything like that, I do apologize in advance. But yeah, I'm I mean, the Purgatory Correctional Institute. I mean, they're just not even pussyfooting around on that, are they? Wow. So I don't think, I mean, yeah, I don't think the thing is I worry about this, man, every time, man. Like, how many of these cases, people, how many of these cases end up having like LDS ties to them, which I find really, really weird. And I'm not saying anything bad about the LDS faith. I'm not saying anything bad about that because I you know, but how many times are we going to hear, you know, like for like 3 years now, there'll be a case and then LDS is brought up, and then I just roll my eyes like, really? Again? So I don't I just don't understand, man. I don't understand. Like, do some of these people just think that their faith makes them above the law? I don't get the logic behind, you know, these people justifying their actions. The dad moved back into the house, Bridget. The dad moved back into the house. Like, he moved out a year ago, according to the neighbors, and then just recently moved back in. But I'm surprised that they're not out on bail. Like, they're still, I mean, did they not get arraigned? I'm surprised that, I mean, they can afford the bail. Were they denied bail? Have they even had an arraignment yet? Because that's really weird to me. All right, let's go over this real quick. This is an hour old, so.
With 6 counts of felony child abuse in Utah. Shocking and horrifying allegations against popular YouTube vlogger Ruby Franke, arrested and charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse in Utah.
I was very, very disturbed, and my heart just absolutely breaks for those children.
The Mormon mother of 6 gained online fame with her tough and often controversial parenting advice.
I was really hoping that keeping them home from school and wiping the floorboards would really bring pain.
She's now under investigation after her 12-year-old son escaped through a window and ran to a neighbor's home pleading for food and water, according to authorities.
14 female does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why, and said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles.
Court documents alleging further details of abuse and neglect, noting that the 12-year-old was severely malnourished and had deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from his malnourishment. Authorities also claiming that Franke's 10-year-old daughter was found malnourished inside the home, which was owned by Franke's business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. Hildebrandt has also been arrested and charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse.
Aggravated child abuse is a serious felony in the state of Utah. It's a punishment of anywhere from 1 to 15 years for each charge.
According to court documents, 4 of Franke's children were taken into Child Protective Services. Their father, Kevin, seen here in one of Ruby's many social media videos,
Kevin and I have decided that we are going to give the gift of truth to them.
Has denied any wrongdoing through his attorney, Randy Kester, who says the couple's been estranged and living apart for more than a year.
He's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy. And no one's ever made any allegations that he's ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
Other family members also speaking out.
I don't think any of us could have.
Yeah, but he's complicit, though. You know, he's complicit. He's still accountable, in my opinion. He's still accountable. Now, maybe not legally accountable. I honestly don't know. But, I mean, there had to have been a reason besides them two just not getting along as to why he left. These people are documenting their lives. Because one thing that the Dad Challenge podcast points out on a regular basis, one of the main things that he points out when going over these family vloggers is their addiction to being online, their addiction to streaming, their addiction to putting out their entire lives out there, because at some point what seems to happen anyway is they just become addicted to a sense of approval from the public, and so everything that you know, any little problem, it's okay, let's make a video and put it out there and see what our community, our people, our followers feel about this. Let's see how they feel about it. Let's see what their opinions are. And that could have just been a reason enough for Kevin to be like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. This is fucking crazy to me. I need out. I'm sick of this. But the thing is there had to have been some indication, if not. And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to accuse this guy of child abuse if there's no evidence of it. But if there's indication in all of these videos, in all of this content of 8 passengers, where she is describing things that could very well be considered abuse, like having them scrub the floors, and she's hoping that that scrubbing the floors inflicts pain on them. I mean, that's cruel and unusual. You know, it just is. It's cruel and unusual. And you're going to tell me that Dad didn't know anything about this? Dad didn't, you know, but at the very least, why didn't Dad speak up and go, hey, what are you doing? You know, like, That's not, no, this isn't going to work. So I just don't get it. I don't see this as being, I'm not buying the whole dad is a sweet, innocent, great dad bit. I'm just not buying that. Now, I'm not saying that he was abusive himself, but I'm saying I don't see how how this went completely under his radar either. I don't see that.
Could have ever seen this coming.
In a since deleted video from her YouTube, Franke's sister Bonnie says family members tried to intervene.
We all did as much as we could legally, and you don't know what you don't know.
Franke first rose to fame in the 2010s, the 41-year-old's channel amassing more than 2 million followers before it was taken down.
Their children were her cash cow with this type of content.
YouTube documentarian Swoop has been following what happened and says she noticed signs in Franke's videos that seemed concerning to her for some time.
She was often giving parental advice, and most of it seemed to showcase how she decided to punish her children in ways that became increasingly alarming and very questionable.
And back in 2020, viewers launched a change.org petition calling for Child Protective Services to investigate Franke.
The warning signs have been there for a very long time with Ruby Franke, and in the content she was making and the things that she was saying.
This case is unique because she videotaped so much of the interaction with the children. So her hard drives, her laptops, her cell phone, anything that could have recording on it, that's going to be seized and analyzed to see if there are more allegations that can be charged with, or if there's just more evidence to prove what she's already being charged with.
Franke and Hildebrandt are scheduled to appear in court for the first time Friday.
Okay, so they're scheduled to be in court tomorrow, which is what I was looking up in the first place. So yeah, I'm just looking up any news. So there's no real updates. What I'm going to do though is I am going to go over that 911 call again.
Emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened. I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
This is an audio recording of the 911 call that led to the arrest of Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt a week ago. My name's Daniela Rivera. I'm with the KSL investigators, and our team obtained this recording through a public record request. I'm going to play some clips from the call for you here.
We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs. He's hungry and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been...
Can you imagine how desperate a kid has to be?
I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. He escaped.
Well, I'm glad that he was able to make it to
on their way.
He could be safe.
Jody Hildebrandt is up there right now.
Okay.
All right, now my
I'm
screen
looking for him here soon, but he's not gonna, obviously. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
I'm gonna play that one more time.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
This is an audio recording of the 911 call that led to the arrest of Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt a week ago. My name's Daniela Rivera. I'm with the KSL investigators, and our team obtained this recording through a public record request. I'm going to play some clips from the call for you here.
We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs. He's hungry and he's thirsty. and he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. He escaped.
I'm calling God that he was able to make it to
They're on their way.
he could be safe.
Jody Hildebrand is up there right now.
Okay.
So she may come looking for him here soon, but he's not gonna, obviously. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
I'm on the address of your
Okay, so I'm really interested in, you know what I'd really like to see is the body cam footage of the arrest. I'd love to see that because I'm curious as to what kind of bullshit they tried to feed the cops when they came and arrested them. I'm wondering if they had any resistance. I doubt it. I doubt there was any resistance whatsoever, but I would love to see the body cam footage of when the police showed up. Now, the thing is we probably won't see that. And I'll explain why. We probably will never see that unless it's released already redacted, because you have to understand that they're responding to a minor. They're responding to a minor's complaint, a minor seeking help from a neighbor, 12-year-old boy showing up to the neighbor's house, and he's a victim of abuse who had lacerations from rope, who had tape on his ankles, and had wounds. So there's probably a very little chance that body cam footage will be released, unless there's some sort of loophole where they can redact the body cam footage, where they can redact and blur out his face, or blur him out completely, or at least just show the footage of him, of the police officers arresting Jody and Ruby. Yeah, my StreamYard chat is working again, so this is good. Let me see here. I mean, that lawyer would have to be licensed in, where are they? Utah? Aren't all the LDS people in Utah? But yeah, I have no doubt that she's going to hire the best lawyer that she can afford. And that lawyer will likely be a high profile lawyer because yeah, I everything about this Ruby Franke person just screams to me attention seeker, someone who just loves attention. So what she's going to end up doing, I mean, you look at that footage where she was in that not even involved in the car accident, but not even involved in the car accident, but films the car accident, and she dubs in like tire screeching noises to give it a more dramatic effect, and then just wanted to be involved. She just saw the car accident. She could have just kept going, but then she like sits there and mind fucks her kids and says that could have been us, and we could have, the only reason we're walking away right now is because we said our prayers this morning. Very, very, yeah, disturbing. But okay. Oh man. And it was really heartbreaking to hear this gentleman, because he's seeing the wounds on this little boy, this 12-year-old boy. He's seeing the wounds that were inflicted on him, and he's he gets choked up. He gets emotional on the phone talking to 911, just looking at him. You know, I mean, if a kid knocked on my door and says, "Hey, listen, I'm being abused at home," right? But I don't see anything that's alarming on him, I'm not going to get emotional when I'm calling 911. I'm just going to be like, "Hey, listen, I got this kid here. He knocked on my door. He asked me to call the cops. I'm calling you guys. It's up to you to do the investigating. I'm just, being a good neighbor here." But if the only way that I'm going to get emotional is if I'm, seeing clear signs of child abuse. Who's Marty? I don't know who Marty is. And the thing is I mean, you have parents. How many times were CPS called or DCFS called? I mean, there was like what was it, like 5 different times or something like that, 5 or 6 times, and that's a clear indication that people were concerned about these kids. But you're also, I mean, what we're hearing is also that these kids are they were playing outside a lot with the other kids, which is actually very healthy. That's not something that you see a lot these days, kids playing outside. But there's also reports that these kids were heard saying things like that they were deprived of food and water when they get in trouble. And so this is what is clearly happening in this case, because the kid comes over to the neighbor's house and he says, "Hey, I'm thirsty and I'm hungry." Longer than that, Phyllis Peterson. He covered her for a while over a year. The stuff he called out has all been revealed now. Crazy abuse, right? But it's been 3 years. I went over videos from Josh going back 3 years ago. So Josh has been fully aware of this family for a long time. Roses are red. Welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's always the shittiest people who always think that they're the best. You know, they always think that they're, like. I don't want to get too personal, man. But I know of one mother who was fucking awful, and she just wore this image of being super mom. That's what she called herself, super mom. I have a super mom syndrome, and just wanted all this sympathy and wore her kids like outfits. That's no different. She just didn't vlog, but it's no different, like someone who would use her children to just force herself into social situations because nobody liked her very much personally. So in order to manipulate her way into social circles, she would use the children and manipulate relationships with her children to other people so that those people will accept her socially. Very, very twisted. And and ride this big white horse of bullshit of being this great single mom that's doing it all by herself with no help, and meanwhile alienating, manipulating, and then later on at one point abusing. So it's always those people that just want to be recognized for being these great moms. You know what I mean? Anybody, like, all you gotta do is just not be a shithead, you know? Like there's a lot of talk about things. I've been very, very open about my uh my relationships with my kids, and I was a young dad, and I was a fucking shithead, very emotionally selfish, very self-oblivious, is how I spent the majority of my young adulthood. I was definitely not somebody who should have had kids when I did. And I made some mistakes, but abusive, I was not. Most definitely not. And there's the one incident that I've talked about here that I'm definitely not proud of. But the issue of when you deal with people who are absolutely just abusive towards their kids, these are people who don't actually love their children. I don't believe that they actually are capable of loving their children. When they look at their children, people who look at their children as extensions of themselves, because my view on my kids is they didn't ask to be brought into this world. Your children never asked to be brought into this world. That is the most logical and most simple reason as to why you are solely responsible for your children, and you are responsible for what happens to them until they are old enough to take care of themselves. And it is your job to prepare them to be ready to take on the world on their own. That is your job. But it all has to come from a place of love. There's no love when it comes to, okay, well, and people will tell themselves shit just to fucking justify it. This Ruby Franke woman is going to tell herself all day long and convince herself all day long that vlogging and making everything in their personal lives public is all preparation for them in the real world. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. If you're violating your kids' privacy, because the thing is when it comes to there's a reason why when you're on the street and you have a cell phone and you're interviewing people on the street, before you do, the ethical thing to do is go, hey, do you mind if I film you? Do you mind if I, I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel and whatever? That's perfectly ethical and that's perfectly fine. The thing is people think that they have this entitlement over their kids, because the problem is children cannot consent to do this. Children cannot sit there and say, yeah, sure, I'm okay with that, because they can't fully understand the magnitude of what is being done. They can't fully understand the repercussions that could happen from being filmed and having their lives put out there for the whole world to be exposed to. It's so these kids, they cannot consent, and just because you're their parent does not justify violating their privacy. These are not loving parents. This is the essence of what the Dad Challenge podcast goes over all the time. The Dad Challenge podcast points these things out. Like, if you love your kids, you respect them. And that's not letting them walk all over you and letting them do whatever you want and coddling them in every possible way and being like, no, you obviously have an authority over your children, but your authority, unless it comes from a place of, and I mean from the heart, unless it's coming from a place of, I just want them to be okay. I want them to be happy, and I want them to be okay. I want them to grow up being happy, and I want them to have a family of their own someday and have happiness in that and in their endeavors in life as they go on their own. Unless every decision you make is coming from that place, then you are not doing what's best for your children. You're doing what's best for you. If you are having a authority struggle with your kid just because you think that you should be, because here's the mistake that I made with my own kids. I'll be totally honest. I made bad decisions in life. Okay. This is a fact. I made absolutely horrible, poor, stupid decisions. I had a sense of entitlement towards the world. I felt I blamed everybody else for all of my shit, you know, and this was the example that I was setting for my kids. And having this attitude, one of those symptoms of having this attitude is not realizing it, not realizing that I was setting a poor example for my kids. And so when, you know, your kids turn out to be teenagers and then they show a lack of respect for you, well, it's like, well, I mean, what do you expect? I could not have expected anything different. As a father, I could not have expected anything different simply because I set a poor example. How am I going to expect my son to do well in school and think about his future and think about having a career and think about the path he's going to take as far as going to college to get to that career if I never did those things myself? And how can I expect him to respect me when I'm going, hey, man, this is what you got to do? Just telling him, and I would tell him all the time. I'd be like, dude, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I don't want you to you know, I want you to do better than I did. And, you know, you should feel lucky that you have me around because I didn't have a dad and blah, 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 you know, but smart kids, smart human beings don't follow what people say. They follow what people do. They follow example. That's why any job you have, if you have a boss who's just bossing you, but they're sitting around, you know, doing jack shit, playing with their phone all goddamn day, and they're going, hey, go do this, go do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm the boss. You're gonna do the bare minimum. You're gonna be like, fuck that guy. In the back of your mind, you're gonna be like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do whatever it takes just to keep my job, but I'm not gonna produce results. I'm not gonna do my best to produce results. You know, but if you have a boss, a supervisor, a superior at your job who's out there kicking ass, working longer hours than everybody, first one through the door, last one out through the door, and just kicking ass, and if you are somebody with a decent work ethic, what you're going to do is you're going to go, I will do anything for that boss. I will do whatever they want me to do. I had a boss, he would ask me things like, he would tell me to do things. He'd be like, I want this done like this in this period of time. And I'd be like, that's impossible. And he'd be like, is it? He'd be like, you got a stopwatch on your phone? Time me. And then he'd do it. And then I'd be like, okay. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how that is. Uh-oh, folks.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad. I think we got a super dad.
Thank you, Tabby. Appreciate it. Kids are a blessing, not an entitlement. You should guide them, not order them. Nice to catch you live. Right, exactly. I'm grateful that now my son is an adult. Him and I get along great, but I don't try to tell him what to do. I don't try to sit there and talk down to him like, well, you need to do this and you need to do that, because I never set these examples for him. How can I expect a kid? And my kid is one of the smartest fucking people you'll ever meet in your life. You know, I'm just lucky that we get along as well as we do. You know, but the reason why we get along now is because I made these changes in my attitude and my perspective towards life. I started setting an example of how to improve yourself. I started to give him reasons to respect me. So that's and what's ironic about that is the essence of why I am absolutely proud of him, because he's not some dumb fucking impressionable shithead who's just going to follow the herd to every little thing. He's going to question everything. He's going to look at authority and question it. And if that authority merits being respected, he's going to respect it. But if it doesn't, he's going to be like, no, fuck you. And I'm proud that I have a kid who thinks this way. I'm absolutely proud of it. And now him and I were just good friends. You know, now he still respects me as a dad. He does. He learned to do that himself, but he did it on his terms. But I did not merit him. I didn't merit demanding it. I just did. I just saw things a certain way and I was like, well, shit. Fuck, you know, like this is where I went wrong. And then, you know, and there was a while where he was just like, I don't even want to talk to you. Fair enough. And then I just started to behave and live my life going in a certain direction, doing certain things. And that's it, you know? And then on his terms, by the grace of God, you know, now we have a great relationship. Best relationship we've had since he was a small kid. So I'm grateful for that, but that's because I got my ego out of it. That's the only reason. I got my ego out of it. These kids, they're not mindless. They're just because they're your children and because you gave them life, they don't owe you anything. You gave them life, therefore you owe them. That's how it works. There's no fucking way around that. There's no escaping that. You gave them life, so now what you have to do, you owe them. And I mean, sometimes tough love is necessary. That's fine. But you owe them. You brought them into this world. They had no say in that. They had no say in their conception. They had no say in their birth. They have no say over where they're going to live, what school they're going to go to, what food they're going to eat. They don't actually have the say because you have to be responsible for all of these things and their nurturing to make sure they're healthy, to make sure they don't grow up to be assholes, so that the world isn't quite as hard on them as it really can be. I mean, it's not easy. But when you make the decision to have a kid, it's not just, hey, you know, this is my legacy, and this person's going to continue my name and bear my grandchildren, and that's, if that's all you're thinking about, you should not be having kids. And how dare you put their fucking lives and their personal lives out there for the world to see when they don't have any say over it, and show off and act like, oh, well, you know, I'm mother of the year because my kid talked back to me, so I'm punishing them, and I want the world to see how much of a disciplinary I am. I mean, that's fucking abuse. That is abuse. Kids do not have say over this shit, man. Like, I'm of the opinion that the stuff that Josh from the Dad Challenge podcast was pointing out 3 years ago was abuse. Just because we didn't have any evidence that she was tying her kids up or whipping them or doing whatever caused these kids to have this 12-year-old boy to have the lacerations that he suffered, that this 911 caller reported. Just because we didn't see these things, it doesn't mean that the other stuff wasn't abusive. Because if you're making decisions about your kids' well-being for the sake of being YouTube famous and for the sake of making money, you are exploiting them. In a sense, you are pimping out your kids. And if you see the type of element, because Josh has pointed that stuff out too. If you see the type of element that subscribes to these channels, you know that you see that there's little tricks that these parents will do to boost their algorithm. Buying their daughter their first tampons, their first bra. These things attract fucked up, shitty people. And there's a ton of them out there that use the internet for this stuff. And you are subjecting your kids to those kind of dangers. That is abusive. Because this kid cannot consent to this. This kid cannot consent to this. The family vlogging thing is just plain fucked. It's just plain wrong. And then what does it take? What does it take to realize that it's wrong? It's wrong to support it as much as it is to do it to your own family. What does it take? It takes seeing a mother who does this shit get arrested for abuse for you to go, oh man, maybe I should maybe I should think this thing through. And yeah, I agree. I think Kevin absolutely knew. I'm not buying this whole I'm an innocent, nice, soft-spoken dad, you know. Yeah, I mean, one mom filming her 3-year-old daughter eating hot dogs. Like, there's an undertone there. Yeah, rock and rolla. The dad, he wasn't there. He split up with his wife a year ago, but he's now moved back into the house now that his wife is in jail, but she has court tomorrow. I'm pretty sure she's going to get out on bail. I'm sure they're going to set bail. It's not a murder case. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure the judge is probably going to set bail, and she's got the money to bail out. I'm sure of it. Don't be surprised. Don't, I mean, it's the way our justice system works. And you don't get to just we don't get to cherry pick when the justice system is in favor for our rights and when it isn't. Because I mean, again, it's not a murder charge, it's a child abuse charge, and a lot of people are probably thinking, well, child abuse, there should be no bail for child abuse. You lock these people under the jail. Unfortunately, that's just not the way the law works. And the law is designed to get justice for victims, but it's also designed to not violate anyone's rights. So things are going to happen in this case. I already predicted that things are going to happen in this case. It's going to piss everyone off. And the best thing that we can do is mentally and emotionally prepare ourselves for it. I mean, that's debatable. I mean, I see what you mean as children are gifts, but again, one could argue that that's not what children are put here for, man. I mean, should you see your child as a gift in the sense that you can learn from them? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the bottom line is again, nobody asks to come into this world, man. And I'm grateful that I mean, I could sit here and I could live my life in regret and just beat myself up for all the mistakes that I made growing up and going into young adulthood. I mean, but one thing that when you really put into perspective how much of a blessing life is, I think that that's something that we have to learn on our own. I think it's important to set that example. I don't think that it's responsible to have kids. Honestly, personally, I don't think it's responsible to have kids until you are capable of realizing how much of a gift life is for yourself, right? Once you become at peace with God or the universe or just simply existence, once you become at peace with that is when, in my opinion, you are ethically sound to having kids and bringing kids into this world, until you can set that example for them. Because I think that's something that everyone kind of has to realize on their own, and I didn't get into this until my 40s, till I was 40. I didn't start realizing this stuff. There's a 400 trillion to 1 chance. This is a fact. You can look this up. 400 trillion to 1 chance of you being born, of you existing, taking human form on this planet. There is a 400 trillion to 1. Can't even visualize that number. That's a hell of a that's a hell of a variation there. But to ponder these things and to really appreciate life, that can't be taught to you and instilled into you. Nobody can sit there and go, you need to do this and you need to do that. That's just something every human being has to do on their own. Every human being has to find their own relationship with their surroundings and their environment, and grow their own appreciation for it. It's kind of like making someone fall in love with somebody else. It's, thinking that you can make someone appreciate life is like an arranged marriage, saying you're going to fall in love with this person. This is not the person that you can love. You need to fall in love with this person. That just doesn't work that way. The heart just doesn't work that way. So, I mean, the only thing that you can do, in my opinion, is learn to have a true appreciation in life, a true appreciation for life yourself. Take whatever steps you need to do, follow whatever religion is right for you, anything that it takes to truly appreciate life and how precious it is, and how precious it is for yourself. And then that's when you can even start thinking about having kids, and let them see you truly appreciate life. Let them find that admiration in you. Let them move on to, when they go on to be independent in this crazy fucked up world, but beautiful just as much. Because I firmly believe that just as fucked up as the world is, it's just as beautiful. And I didn't always think that way. And I'm so grateful that I can think that way now. I am so grateful that now I can think that way. I feel like I was dead. I feel like I was dead 6 years ago. Dead. Just fucking walking around, just completely and totally just stagnant, just pointless. No point to my existence at all. And then I started to really, like, what it took was hitting bottom, hitting absolute bottom, and being absolutely ready to just die. And then realizing that it was, like Shawshank, man, get busy living or get busy dying. That's where I was at. And so I just decided to I just got a whole new perspective on life. And ever since I got that whole new perspective on life, I've been happier. I've been healthier. I've earned the respect of loved ones that I didn't have before. And yeah. And I should not have even thought about having kids until I had adopted this attitude and this perspective on life. I should never even thought about it. And I don't think anybody else should either. Honestly. I don't think anybody else should. So, I mean, I could go into the whole depression and anxiety thing. I've done that many times, but that's not really relevant to what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is what your perspective is when you're having kids. What are you thinking about when you're having kids? Are you thinking about just extending your bloodline? Are you thinking about just having somebody there to, having a kid to wear? Because that's what a lot of people do. And that's what these family vloggers are basically doing. They have kids, and they work as accessories. That's the role that these children play in their lives. They're just accessories, no different than a handbag or a pair of shoes or a designer skirt. It's sad. And I believe that is just as much a form of abuse as, starving your kid. Now, I'm not comparing severity. I'm just saying it's, you know, it's all abuse. It's all abuse. So we got to, until we're truly capable of setting the best example for our children, shouldn't have them. And if you're exploiting your kids by putting their private lives out there and private things like buying them bras, their first bra, and reading text messages out loud for millions of viewers from their first boyfriend, like, that is fucking wrong. That doesn't benefit them in any way, shape, or form. It hurts them, and it benefits you. It benefits you with meaningless material bullshit. Yeah, laugh at life. I mean, and I don't want you to think that I'm giving parenting advice. I'm not. I'm nobody to give parenting advice. I blew that credibility. I blew that. It's that's out the window. I'm just telling you how I look at things now. I'm just giving you my personal opinion and perspective on how I see things now. That's all I'm doing. But I am nobody here to be telling you guys how to raise your kids and what to do. I'm just giving my opinions. I don't have the credibility to tell people how to parent. I fucking blew that. I absolutely did. There's no denying that. Right. I also have I also have this perspective on, because I also think that this generation is just, we live in this online generation. Like, it's bad, in my opinion. There's so many parents out there that just stick an iPad in their toddler's face as a pacifier, and they have cell phones, at such a young age, and that's fine, but the problem is the result that you're going to get is you're going to get these entitled you're going to get these entitled, spoiled, soft kids who are just addicted to a screen. And then when you do that, guess who becomes their parent? Whatever the fuck they're looking at. Whatever the fuck they're looking at online, that's what's becoming their parent. That's what's becoming their authority figure. Like, honestly, I mean, a lot of the reason why I, have morals, and I have, I have scruples. A lot of the reason is because of, fucking Philip Drummond. You know what I mean? Like, what's his name? The dad from Family Ties. Dare I say Bill Cosby? I should say Cliff Huxtable. Not Bill Cosby, but Cliff Huxtable. But I mean, these were examples that were set for me as a kid. I used to love these TV shows, but I didn't have a father. Yeah, I know it was Mr. Keaton, but I was trying to think of his first name. I can't remember his first name, but I mean, I watched. I just stuck myself in front of a TV, But I mean, none of this stuff exists anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is a kid looking at? What is a kid looking at when they're sitting there staring at an iPad? Like, it's the most mindless. There's no educational value to it. It's just mindless, weird, just cartoons, just boop, 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 boop. And I don't understand it. I see my nieces looking at it, and I'm just like, I don't even know what the fuck this is. And it all started with the Teletubbies. As soon as that shit came out, the standard for educational television for kids just went right out the fucking window. I remember watching Teletubbies with my kid when he was a toddler, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Okay, there's a son with a baby face, and then there's these things running around that aren't saying anything. There's no lesson whatsoever. I mean, Fat Albert had a lesson to it every single time. I just, yeah, like, it just serves to just, like, the only purpose it seemed to serve was to pacify kids. I mean, Kelsey Queso, you're saying, and to not give their child a bed to sleep on. I'm sorry, my grandmother used to take everything but the bed and the blankets, and we did household chores to earn things back. I mean, the thing is what you have to understand. I mean, a lot of parents have their own ways of disciplining and their own ways of raising kids and teaching values. I'm not here to tell anybody what the wrong way to is and the right way to do things is, because the thing is you have to know your own kids, like, and what works, what teaches your kids right from wrong. You know that, and if you're a grandparent, if you were raised by your grandparent, they were raised in a different time where different forms of discipline were more accepted at that time. And what are you going to do? Sit there and say, oh, well, grandma was an abuser. Well, I mean, what, every parent in the 1920s was abusive? You know what I mean? Every parent in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s were abusive. That's just not accurate. It's not logical to jump to that conclusion. Standards have changed. Things that were acceptable at one point are no longer acceptable now. So, I mean, I'm not one to sit here and say, oh, well, your grandmother was abusive towards you. I mean, if you turned out okay, then great. I mean, I don't think it's anybody's place to tell anybody how they should be raising their kids. I'm just saying, if you're going into raising your kids with the attitude that it's about you in some way, then it's just not it's not productive. You're not getting anywhere. But right, no, I know exactly what you're saying, Kelsey Queso. I'm that's why I'm highlighting your comments and even your follow-ups here, because I don't think you were implying at all that your grandmother was abusive. I'm saying people nowadays will say that that's abusive. There are people that will say, well, that's abusive. You're taking everything away and you have to earn it back through getting chores. One would argue that you're just teaching the child values. You're teaching the child a work ethic. Nothing is free in this world. 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 Noth You're teaching a child how to appreciate luxuries, because everything aside from a bed, blankets, food, clothing, shelter, everything besides those things are a luxury. And if you're teaching your kid that that's exactly what that is, depending on your methods, and that's your attitude, is so that you can teach your child, or your grandchild, to appreciate things in life, because nothing is actually free. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like I said, depending on the attitude behind it, and depending on uh you know there's also got to be some love and some nurturing. you know uh it just depends on where this is coming from. If they're doing it, hey, well, you know what, this damn kid doesn't know anything. If it's that kind of attitude, then no, then that's just a bitter ass old lady who doesn't fucking who's just not happy and is taking it out on kids. you know I mean, it's just how we look at things, man. It's just so funny because we're all fickle about shit, right? Because you look at as long as it's painted in a cool light. It's like I watched this movie called The Accountant, right? Wasn't a real popular movie. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal. It wasn't a real popular movie, but the thing is you have Ben Affleck who is an autistic savant, right? And his dad was hardcore military. He's like a colonel in the military, and he trained both his kids with he had both his kids train with a kung fu master, and he was really strict with them, you know and and so but by anybody's standards, you know like if by anybody's standards, let's say those kids turned out terrible, you know let's say those kids turned out to be terrible people, turned out to be serial killers, right? Then we'd be like, oh my god, the dad was abusive, right? But since they didn't, then we're like, man, that dad, man, that was some tough love. I wish my dad would have brought me up like that. I'd be a badass today. But you know what I mean? Like, what where's the line? Where's the line? It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me. Because, like I said, had there been a different result, then the dad would have been abusive to every viewer that watched that movie. But everybody who watched that movie, every male that watched that movie, sat there and envied these kids for being brought up that way. Because Ben Affleck kicked the guy's ass with his belt. Like, he took his belt off and just whooped his ass. Like, man, that's badass. That's what we do, right? Happy hour at the Regal Beagle Lounge. I'm buying. I'm gonna open the phone, man. All right. So if anybody wants to call in, they can. Dude, morbid. The Kenner Star Wars, man, were the worst of the action figures. The best were the G.I. Joes because they had, like, you could shape them in any way. But Darth Vader's cape was like a vest. That thing sucked. Arms just went like this. Yeah, I couldn't stand the Star Wars toys. They were highly disappointing. A press conference on The Fugitive, I'll look into that. Or Cherry will look into that. Let me see something here. So 3 p.m. Eastern, but I don't see I don't have a link for it just yet. But yeah, man, that Fugitive is something else, dude. Oh man, let me show that. Oh, that shit was crazy. Let me show that. Did you guys see the footage of him escaping from the prison? Did you guys see that? I caught that like yesterday. Here, let me. Oh my god, this is insane. Look at this. Watch him. Watch him over here on the left. Dude shimmied, bro. He fucking shimmied. It's the architect's fault of the prison. You seeing this shit? Look at this. Bro, Spider-Man over here escaped from prison. Oh, morbid. Dude, let me tell you about that. That's so much fun. She's been saying that shit ever since I started reviewing her. Like, she still doesn't understand the concept of fair use. She still doesn't get it. It's so fun to me. I mean, she can copyright it all day. It's not going to matter. Wow. No, yeah, the Fugitive series is way before my time. I love the movie, though. DMs, asshole. You switch the samples. You switch the samples so that Devlin McGregor can give you Provasic. Hold on. Cherry's telling me. All right. I got a link for it now. All right. Starts in 5 minutes. So I'll go over that press conference. Cherry hates when I do my Harrison Ford. When I came home, there was a man in my house. He had a mechanical arm. I fought with this man. You find this man. Oh, Jesus. Dude, this dude, I could just fucking, I'm just going to play this on like a loop while we wait for this press conference, because like this dude shimmying up the wall is mind blowing, bro. All right, so about 2 more minutes, about 2.5 more minutes before this press conference starts. And like he stayed in like the same area. I don't understand what these cops are doing, dude. I mean, I don't want to criticize them too much because like I don't know what it takes to catch a fugitive other than watching The Fugitive. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it takes, but like how hard could it be? I mean, if he's shimmying up the wall and that's how he escaped, you better be looking into trees. You better have like predator heat sensors to see if he's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking of all this stuff in theory, but that's what it looks like. It looks like the other dude in the pic is just in the video here. This dude with the tattoos, Benny Keys over here, is is just playing lookout. I don't think he's playing lookout. Looks like he's playing basketball. Because there was a basketball game. I remember in the other press conference, one of the officers or the warden said that there was a basketball game going on, and he was playing. I don't think he was a lookout. Maybe he was a lookout, but he was involved in the basketball game. But there's nothing to like indicate that he was really looking out. Yeah, so this should be starting any second now. Or any minute. Because I'm curious, like, oh, wait. You're on. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Trouble? It's Shorty, aka what's up?
What's up, Shorty?
Not much. Been trying to let you know I was in your chat today. I know you've been busy, been chatting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This case is a mess.
I mean, yeah, it's a terrible thing for sure. It's definitely a terrible thing. But the question is whether or not there's going to be justice, you know. But
I do hope there is justice, because I tell you what, you know about my story. There was no justice for me when I was kidnapped, and it took me 50 years, and I am standing strong, which I'm not trying to get no sob story here, and I don't want no anyone to feel sorry for me, whatever else. You already know my situation about that. I'm a fighter, and I still keep kicking ass every single day of my life. But the long story short,
reminder.
We're asking the thing of it is
by familiarizing themselves with the photograph and
it took my
description of
mom a long
Cavalcante,
time to
check
find
security
me, and
cameras
when
they
she
have,
finally
and to
found
call us
me,
immediately. They
she
believe
wanted
they
to
may have
take
seen
it to the news and that
Again, we
whatever
ask
else, but you
residents
can't
to
find
please
a
secure
cop. The
homes,
cop that
outbuildings,
stole
and
me,
vehicles.
and he was a crooked cop
Cavalcante
to
has
begin
clearly
with.
already
But that's
hey,
another
Michelle,
story.
I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off because the press conference started.
That he might have.
And I'm really interested in hearing your story, and I hate interrupting this story because I feel really bad.
Extremely dangerous.
But
And there
yeah,
is a
we got to
reward,
watch this press conference. Everybody's waiting to watch this press conference. All right, thanks for calling in, sweetie.
Leading to the capture of Cavalcante. Anyone with information is asked to call our tip line at 717-562-2987. 717-562-2987. I continue to thank the community for their support and for allowing us the latitude to do our jobs while they deal with what I know are extremely stressful circumstances. We appreciate you all more than you know. And I wanted to also, because we've had a number of inquiries, I mentioned an injury to one of our tactical dogs the other day, Loki, and I wanted to provide you all just a brief update. He is doing well, has been released from the hospital earlier today, and is expected to make a full recovery and return to work within the next week. And with that, we will be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Can you provide some details of the Longwood Gardens event? We saw the helicopter drop very low right off the deck and seemed to try to spread the underground.
So an individual reported that that he had seen someone matching that description, and he provided us a location that he had seen them running through that area, and so searchers have gone to that area. We're using people on foot. We have horses out there as well that are assisting with the search, tactical teams, and of course the aviation assets that you mentioned.
How big is that area?
How close is this search to that trail camera location?
It's not very far from that location.
Which schools were removed from the search?
That was the Greenwood Elementary and Chadds Ford Elementary.
So how big is this radius now that we're looking at? I mean, initially it started in that 2-mile radius that moved to Longwood, then it was sort of east. Can you give us just an exact distance that you're searching for the entire
Yes, so it's about an 8 to 10 square mile area that we're looking at right now. It's a couple of miles across, but the total mileage would be about 8 to 10 square miles.
Is there any validity that he was actually at Walmart in East Marlboro Township? There was reported sightings there.
I'm aware of that report, and we do not believe that was him.
And given the newly released footage yesterday of his escape, and he is so agile, has law enforcement been looking up in trees and the foliage?
There you go.
Have you all been looking into stormwater management within these neighborhoods? And then also, have you been going door to door in various neighborhoods for welfare checks?
Yes, to all of those, it's been a very thorough search.
Do you have a strategy for preventing him from escaping via the Brandywine Creek, which runs all the way to the Delaware River?
We do.
Can you elaborate on that?
No.
Colonel, what time was the sighting near Longwood reported?
Just before noon.
Today.
Yes.
Colonel, do you still believe he's within this 8 to 10 mile perimeter that you set up?
I have every reason to believe he is still within that perimeter. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us why you have every reason to believe so?
We have had no sightings outside of that area. We have maintained as secure a perimeter as we possibly could. And then as recently as today, we have another reported sighting.
You mean like the prison was secure?
So it is
Okay.
bordered on the north by 926, on the east by 100 or Creek Road, on the south by Hillendale, and on the west by 52.
Colonel, how much bigger is this perimeter today than, say, last Friday?
It is larger. I couldn't tell you what the difference in size is, though, off the top of my head.
But this is the same as yesterday, right?
It is.
Colonel, is there any evidence that he has obtained a weapon? Anything new on that?
I do not have any evidence to that effect, sir.
With the mushroom
I'm sorry, just,
festival returning this
I'm
weekend?
sorry, just a minute, ma'am.
You mentioned the heat. We obviously know it had an effect on the canine officer. Is there any truth that the heat may have impacted thermal cameras at the prison that may have been heated or would not have been working at the time of Caliconte's escape?
I couldn't speak to what effect anything would have on the cameras at the prison.
Can you talk about the effect on the, law enforcement members on the ground with the heat working through the day?
Oh, it makes it very challenging. Certainly all of you have been out in this weather, high temperatures, high humidity. They're wearing, uniforms with bullet resistant vests, carrying a lot of equipment. It certainly adds to the challenge. With that said, I have not heard a single complaint, and I believe our people are up to the task, but
Do they get some break time, cool down time, water breaks?
if someone needs it, we absolutely get them some rest. But typically, what we've been doing is we're transporting fluids, food, those kinds of things to sustain them and keep them well hydrated out to their locations. Sorry, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much. Two questions here. The Mushroom Festival returns for the 28th year in Kennett Square, which is a couple miles from East Marble, Lowood Gardens. The Mushroom Festival will return as planned. Our law enforcement, state agencies, federal agencies working very closely with local police to ensure that the escapee will not go towards the borough, because some people are planning not to attend this year due to the escaped convict, even though he's not been spotted there. So any thoughts on that?
Well, we're working very hard to capture the escaped convict and not allow him to go anywhere.
And then
But along with that, yes, we are well aware of that festival, and we are working with authorities, a number of authorities, law enforcement, emergency management, and so forth, to try and make sure that people feel very safe at that festival.
Yeah, and last question, in terms of how technology has changed from 1999 when Norman Johnson escaped, he was here for about 3 weeks in Chester County, again, back in 1999. How has technology changed that is supporting your efforts to find him? Any thoughts on that?
As with your cell phone, it's changed dramatically in that amount of time. And so we take advantage of some of the latest state-of-the-art options that are available. And so when I've mentioned here before, we use a wide array of technology. We have a number of federal partners here with us that I've talked about previously. All of the assets of all of our agencies are brought to bear.
If North Creek Road is the eastern perimeter, how did you decide to remove Chatsford Elementary School from the search area?
We carved it out by putting additional officers around there. We cleared that property and then put officers around it so that we could carve that piece out.
The property at the school?
Yes, sir.
Colonel, as you know, another prisoner escaped earlier this year from Warren County.
Yes.
And was found some days later hiding out in the woods. So it seems like there's sort of a parallel to be drawn between the two different types of manhunts. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how that situation compared to the search now, and if there are sort of like differences between the two that explain challenge that you're experiencing here.
And those are two of the more recent, this one and that are two of the more recent examples that we've had. There are similarities between any situation for a manhunt like this. So we try to learn something from each of those incidents that we handle, take from that how to run a smoother operation. Our partners in many cases are the same. In fact, some of the people that are here from the federal agencies are some of the same teams and resources. I was on the Warren County search as well. So there's some of the same resources. Again, all of us take lessons learned from it. We adapt those to the different circumstances we find. And, there are different challenges with every particular search. If we moved 20 miles down the road, there would perhaps be some different challenges than what we have here. We would adjust to those. Yes, sir.
There's been some speculation in the media that the heat-seeking technology, thermal imaging technology,
Predator stuff.
is not working because it's so hot. Is that correct? Is all the technology we're using in that regard?
That's a great question.
working the way it should because of the heat?
It is.
It is. There's no
Weather can weather can certainly have an impact on it, but it does not take that technology out of the game at all. At times, to use the example of thermal imaging, you can get some additional hotspots, rocks, different things like that can cause a hotspot, but it requires you to check a few more things, but it does not diminish our desire to use it.
Lieutenant, are you concerned that he is growing more desperate and yet more dangerous the time that he spends out in this weather and being hunted by you?
I believe he becomes more desperate. I believe he has always been very dangerous, and I've said that from the start.
Of course.
He's already murdered 2 people, one in Brazil and one here in a very brutal manner. He's a very dangerous individual, and he remains so.
But now, is this the 8th confirmed sighting, or are there more? And can you kind of walk us through those 8? Because it seems like he's going back and forth, or are we out of order on the sighting numbers?
I don't have all of those other sightings here in front of me, but I can get that for you, and we can talk about it another time. But yes,
So 8 is correct?
Yes, sir, it would be 8.
What about homes? We know you've checked some homes before. Are you going back and rechecking homes? And if nobody's home, what are you doing? Are you checking the relatives just to make sure he's not in there?
We are checking homes. We're talking to neighbors if we don't find somebody at that home, and then each one is handled on an individual basis. We typically can check, tax records, county records, to try and find an owner if we're just completely unsuccessful. But the biggest thing we look for immediately while we're there is any sign at all of forced entry. And we have found some open homes, and in those cases we try to obtain permission. Otherwise, through exigent circumstances, we can at least make sure that that home is not occupied by
Is there indication that he's gotten into any of these homes? I mean, we've had people contact us saying they believe things have been taken or moved. On your end,
I have not been able to confirm a single case to this point. It doesn't mean he hasn't, but I have not been able to confirm a single
The
case.
family said he was downstairs when they were upstairs. The family said that they flipped
Yes.
the lights.
Yes.
That's not a confirmed entry.
I don't doubt that someone was down there. I cannot confirm that it was him.
So that doesn't count in your 8.
Have additional special forces arrived, sir?
We have had tactical teams from all over the country come in and continue to come in. We have some additional resources that are arriving today, and part of the team arrived yesterday and will arrive today, and will become operational by tomorrow. So one of the things when I talk about after the press conference being able to give you some additional insight of how we can do this, we'll have an opportunity to talk about some of those teams tomorrow and give you some idea. I think, and I'll come back to some of your questions here in a minute, but I think what I would like you all to see is that there is an amazing operation going on here. There's a collaboration between local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. This is not simply a situation where we have a police dispatcher sitting and taking a call and dispatching a police car to go and follow this up. It is a very sophisticated, FBI, open up! Well-staffed operation that I believe, again, when you have an opportunity to see some of that, there are some portions, obviously, that I can't show you everything, but I think you would have an opportunity to see enough of it to truly come away with an understanding of the effort that is being made to ensure that we end this as quickly as possible, to ensure the safety of the community. We absolutely understand their concern. I get it as a parent, why other parents are concerned about their children going to school, playing in the yard, all of those kinds of things. Again, having been involved in a number of these searches, it is the same with every one of those. And we want to end this as quickly as possible. We'll throw every available resource at it to do it.
You still have a sense of your confidence knowing that he's going back and forth from the same places again and again. What does that do to bolster some morale out here? Does it bolster? And what does that mean for your containment area?
There is no impact on morale, as I said a few minutes ago. I have yet to hear a single complaint. I interact with our people. We have shift changes where we brief out, outgoing troopers and officers. The morale is high, and I talk to them when they come in after a lengthy shift and working in these conditions. Morale remains high. These are people who are volunteering to come here, many from out of the area, who are volunteering. Now, in the case of state police, they're being paid. So I don't mean it to sound as though they're just volunteers, but they are asking their commanders to send them here. That's how high the morale is.
Any sense of where he's going now, and then can you confirm that there was no equipment failure at the prison as it related to any heat that may have impacted any of the cameras or technology there that could have aided in his escape?
I cannot speak again to the technology at the prison. That is not my focus at this point in time. My focus is on capturing him. There is an ongoing investigation there that I'm sure will reveal if there was any kind of a failure, or whether it was a failure of an individual or a group of individuals.
It was a failure in architecture. What are you talking about?
Right now, again, the priority for me and our focus is on getting him back into custody.
But you do have a sense of where he's going.
I have some ideas. Again, I can't get inside his head. I wish I could. I wish I could go right to where he is. So we use our experience. We use the information that's available to us. And then we also use any number of different techniques to try and push him, to try and get him to make a mistake and detect that mistake when it occurs.
Was there a search of the
Just 1 second, the gentleman back there.
Can you explain why you can't just have this perimeter and then squeeze in and get him? Obviously, it's not that simple. You would have done it, but
yes.
Why doesn't that work?
For a number of reasons, it doesn't work. First of all, it's not just a perfect open piece of land that you can just march through. You've got businesses, residences, highways, hills, valleys, wooded areas that can't be pushed through. The number of people that it would take to contain that area and be able to walk shoulder to shoulder through that area and squeeze, and the amount of time that it would take, it's just simply not realistic to do that. If we were talking about, one city block or something like that, it would be a different story. It's just too large of an area to be able to squeeze in and push like that.
Yes, Lieutenant Colonel, could you provide an estimate as to how many personnel are currently at Longwood Gardens trying to track this guy down right now, and what tactics and what technology is being used at Longwood Gardens?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't speculate. It'd be a large number of people. We don't break the perimeter, so we're not moving every single person there. We want to keep the perimeter secure while we move response teams there. And so I mentioned, tactical teams, aviation, mounted detail.
I feel like they need more dogs.
Besides the tactical teams, canines, all of that is brought to bear.
Yeah, more canines.
Number, I couldn't give that to you off the top of my head.
Searching at night still, because they confirmed the account of the man who says he broke into his house.
I'm sorry?
There was a report of the man that says that
yes.
He broke into his house, and also whether he using blockouts.
We are using tracking dogs. And yes, I believe the account that someone broke in. I'm saying I can't conclusively prove that it was him.
Has he left any traces that you have found? Traces of anything? Traces of clothing, food? Like the one in Western Pennsylvania campsite. Has he left any traces at all?
We have not recovered anything that I can conclusively say was his at this point.
There was a lot of speculation yesterday about his training as a survivalist. A few years back, you led the search for Eric Green in the Poconos. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between that search, which went on for about 48 days, and the search for
Again, as I said earlier, there are a lot of similarities between any of these searches.
Release the hounds.
The level of violence. We knew Freen was armed. And so both very violent individuals, very dangerous individuals. The difference is with Freen, you're hunting for a person with a rifle that will penetrate the body armor of any of the officers that are out there, and did penetrate the body armor of the corporal that he killed. And so it brings a different dynamic to that search. But there are a lot of similarities in the search as well. And again, that's where I tell you that we try to take lessons from all of those and bring those to the next job.
So Longwood Gardens is west of 52. Is that outside your perimeter? And I believe today was the first day it was open. Was it
Yes,
open?
Longwood Gardens proper is out there. They have additional property that is within the perimeter, and it's in the vicinity of that that I'm speaking.
And was that area was not open to the public today because it was inside the perimeter?
I can't speak to whether Longwood Gardens had that piece open or not. There wasn't anybody in there.
So not all of Longwood Gardens is in the permit,
Correct.
Do you still have men's search tonight?
Yes.
Lieutenant, this is a question maybe for the district attorney or the chief. Neighbors adjacent to the prison spoke to us today about their concerns for their safety, not the first time that someone escaped from the prison, but now the second time. They are curious about alerts. In May, they're on record today saying that in May, there was no siren, there was no warning. I know you don't speak for the county, but as the chief law enforcement officer for Chester County, how can you assure these neighbors that they're not everyone for themselves out there on their properties?
So I understand that alerts do go out. The first prison escape in May, he was captured within 5 minutes, is my understanding. So I don't even know if there was a time for alert to go out, but I don't know that information conclusively. They are sending out alerts repeatedly through reverse 911 calls, and they keep expanding the perimeter and the radius to where they send those locations or those notifications. So they are on high alert, and those communities that are affected immediately are alerted right away. So I know that the time frame is very rapid from when they are alerted and until when they have an incident.
Concerned though that, I mean, I know it's under investigation, but this is supposed to be a facility that holds in these dangerous people, these guys convicted of murder.
Absolutely. You know, this is an outrage. This should have never happened.
Right.
You know that I was the prosecutor who was assigned to this case, and I helped convict this man, and he was sentenced to life without parole. We're all upset. We're all concerned, and there will be a thorough investigation, and that will be made public at some point.
District Attorney Ryan, can you speak to the victim of Deborah, the woman and her family, and I'm assuming that the family has protection right now because he's not being arrested.
They do have protection, and they are terrified. They haven't left their home. They're barricaded inside and very concerned about their safety. We do have police detail around them 24 hours a day, but I know they're very, very worried.
People are taking too long to catch this guy,
He will
dude.
not be going back to Chester County Prison.
And when captured, what charges might he face? I mean, what does this bring from a criminal liability?
He's charged with escape right now. That's a felony.
Where will he go?
He'll go to a state correctional institution.
The one that he was sentenced to.
He hadn't been assigned to anyone yet. He was on the way to Smithfield to be assigned to another location.
Sorry if this is already asked, but will you all release the video of the people that escaped?
No, we're not focusing on that right now. Our primary mission is to get this guy in custody. That's where all of our attention is focused at this moment.
Ms. Ryan, did your office answer the motion seeking a retrial or a resentencing for this defendant, Mr. Cavalcante? Did you, I know the judge denied it, but did your office have a response to their pursuing a retrial?
We did not respond. The judge decided that on his own.
Oh, they'd catch him in a minute if he went to a hotel, Evil Queen.
We talked to someone who has taken it upon himself to enter into wooded areas and look for Cavalcante. Obviously, this is someone who believes they're relenting in this case. What is your message to people who may think that they would be empowered to do such things?
First of all, they have no authority other than that of a private citizen to do it. They are risking drawing away law enforcement resources because someone else may see them and report them, and we end up having to go investigate that and draw resources away. So I would ask them not to do it. I can't prevent them from doing it, but they have no authority and run the risk of, depending on what action they take, getting themselves in trouble.
Just to confirm that, so the most recent sighting, you said was at Longwood Gardens, but it's not Longwood Gardens.
No, I said it was in the vicinity. It was near Longwood Gardens. Yes.
So it's gonna be the property, that's not the primary Longwood Gardens property.
Yes.
Additional into the search area.
Yes, sir.
Is it Longwood Gardens property or near Longwood?
I don't know, sir. I wasn't out there personally on that when it was in that vicinity. I just know where the report was. It was very close to where the camera was, which was on Longwood Gardens
Lieutenant
property.
Colonel, what would you say to those who say that he's winning right now? It's 8 days, he's up against hundreds of your people, you've got technology, he's got barely nothing to eat, and you can't catch him. He's winning so far, not you.
Well, we've chased people for a lot longer than this.
Wow.
And ultimately brought them to justice. As I've said before, we're not going anywhere. We will eventually capture him. And when we do,
What do you really think, bro?
I don't consider that winning.
There were some neighbors near the area where he was spotted by the creek who were concerned that bloodhounds were being used and that the scent may have been anyway lost in the creek itself. Are bloodhounds part of what you're using to try to track him?
I don't have bloodhounds at this particular scene, but I've got other tracking dogs that we have confidence in and I'm told can perform in a very similar manner. And by the way, we have them from a number of agencies as well.
Just to clarify, so the heat isn't impacting any of the tech that you're using to search for him day and night?
Correct.
Is there any reason, I asked this yesterday, I'll ask the same question, is there any reason to believe he's getting or gotten help from anyone outside of jail?
It's something that I am always concerned about, but I'm not prepared to discuss that in any further detail at this point. We are always looking for that, and we continue to look for that because even if it doesn't happen at the beginning, it sometimes can happen at a later point in the hunt. And so it's something we're always aware of, but I'm not prepared to discuss it.
There was a report that there was a train stopped and searched in the Route 1 area.
There was a train that was stopped there. The railroads have been cooperative with us for the most part. Well, what they've been doing is stopping at their normal stop, and we can utilize others for surveillance to make sure that no one else boards the train so that we don't disrupt the train traffic. No, I don't. There have been a number of trains over the last several days that have come through there.
Does he have relatives in, this is brought up.
So wait a second. So
Does he have relatives in Maryland?
what?
He may be trying to get to, something I've heard, but I can't, it's speculation. Does he have relatives in Maryland? Does he have relatives near here who he's trying to get to? Tell us anything about the youth talks to him?
He has relatives in the general area here. Offhand, I'm not familiar with anyone in Maryland. If he's trying to get to those, I wouldn't be able to tell you that at this point.
Have you spoken to him? Have you tried to get cooperation from him?
We have spoken to relatives, and I can't go any further than that.
Yesterday, you said something about you still believe he's heading south, but you couldn't elaborate on that. Can you go further today?
No. Okay. All right. Again, thank you very much for your help in getting this word out, keeping the public informed, and we'll talk afterward here about tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So I want to know why, like, I feel like any maximum security prison, if they put ankle bracelets on parolees, right? People on probation, why wouldn't they have them standard on prisoners? I mean, I guess they could figure out a way to cut them off, but I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm just thinking out loud, which is, but that one reporter was pretty hostile, right? Talking about he's winning. It's been 8 days. You guys have all this equipment. You have technology. He has nothing. And he's winning. Bro, some of you might know that I don't want to say interviewed. I don't like to say interviewed because I'm not a journalist. I don't claim to be a journalist. I'm not a gonzo journalist. But I managed to get Colton Harris Moore to talk with me on this channel about 4 years ago. I'm not even sure how long it was, but a couple of times actually. And this guy, he was famous, known as the Barefoot Bandit. Um, and he evaded the FBI and local law enforcement in Seattle, or just outside the Seattle area. And he did it for a long time. It was a lot more than 8 days. It was a lot more than 8 days. And we got to talk a little bit about that. Mostly, I mean, he's a brilliant guy. But he doesn't really like to talk about that, and he hates that he's known for that. Because he's very like I said, he's brilliant, and he's more interested in money. He likes to talk about finance. So and that's I don't know anything about money. I don't have any. I don't know anything about money. But he's fascinated. Um he's fascinated with the economy and finance and all that sort of thing. But he's also fascinated with airplanes. And to the point to where one of the things that he did during his Barefoot Bandit days, which he hates being referred to as that, because I mean, he got caught and he did his time and he was absolutely rehabilitated. And unfortunately, he can never get a pilot's license because he stole 5 airplanes while he was a fugitive from justice. And so but it's crazy because I feel like, because the way he looks at it, when I talked to him, he was adamant. He was like, one way or the other, I'm gonna fly again. Like, this is a guy who truly loves aviation, like has an insatiable passion for aviation. And he and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this press conference and I'm brainstorming, because we're talking about a guy like this guy's he's like 5 foot something. He's pretty short. He's a short guy, right? And we saw what he's capable of. I feel like somebody like Colton could maybe liaise with law enforcement and helping in where they could pick his brain as somebody who was able to evade law enforcement the way that he did. Because it was a big game to Colton. He was just a kid. He was like 19. And he would take pictures of himself. He would take these selfies out in the woods. I mean, and he was just amazing. And he's not proud of it, but it's crazy when you read the comments in the live streams that I did with Colton, and people just think of him like just a cult hero. And he doesn't like that at all. He doesn't want to be remembered by that at all. But I mean, it'd be cool if somehow he got into some sort of work program. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible, but it'd be really cool that if he could just get a pilot's license under the conditions of maybe helping, liaise with law enforcement in situations like this, where somebody is just running around, and evading law enforcement. I mean, it seems like a cool thing for him to do, like it seems like a way for him to be able to work his way back into a pilot seat, into an airplane. Because if you listen to Colton talk about flying, it's it's like he's just talking about an extension of himself, just a part of himself that he doesn't get to do. You know, it's like, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan not being able to play guitar, you know, or Eddie Van Halen not having been able to play guitar for whatever reason. It's kind of like that. And I just love to see him. And I don't even know. I can't get a hold of Colton. Colton, his favorite thing in the world seems to be to just jump completely off the grid. He's changed his email so many times. He's changed his email. He's deleted and started his YouTube channel over and over again. I get messages all the time. I get messages from news sources. From I think like Inside Edition one time emailed me asking me for Colton's contact information. I'm like, let me know when you get it, because he just disappears. And I would totally love to, you know, touch base with him and suggest that to him, you know, because the bottom line is it's just this is something that he did. He had a natural ability to just evade law enforcement. He was that's what he was known for. He didn't commit any violent crimes. He definitely victimized people. If you steal from people, you victimize them. If you take property that isn't yours, it belongs to someone, and you victimize someone. And he absolutely acknowledges this. And he takes full accountability for it. And we're talking about a guy who even he negotiated the rights to his story with 20th Century Fox, and negotiated the biggest amount, the largest amount that has ever been negotiated for a story, and they never even made the movie. And with COVID and with with COVID and with with now the strike, with the strikes, I mean, who knows? But he negotiated, I think it was $4 million for his story, and it was all for retribution for his victims, all to pay the victims back, because obviously when he stole these planes, he had to crash land them, and there was damage, you know, and what's really funny is none of them have any animosity towards him. To this day, none of them have any animosity towards him. Law enforcement, even though he made them look like fools, they don't have any animosity towards him. He's still keeps in touch with some of those guys. But I'd love to see. I'm wondering if that's ever been an option for him, is to possibly liaise with the FBI or any law enforcement agency that is dealing with a fugitive such as this, so they could pick his brain and think, you know, well, what would you be doing right now? Where would you be going? At what point did you feel to the point to where you were hungry, and what did you do to get food? And you know, but the difference is there's a massive difference. Oh yeah, Team Brittany, yeah, you're talking about oh God, Jenny Durkin. Yeah, Jenny Durkin, who became the mayor of Seattle, and Seattle's just such a nice place now, thanks to her. But yeah, I feel like it would be a cool thing for Colton to maybe, you know, negotiate somehow in being able to get his pilot's license. Because he's never going to be truly happy until he gets to do that. He's never going to be truly happy unless he gets to do that. And I think that he absolutely deserves it. This is not a bad person. He made some mistakes when he was young, and and he paid for those mistakes. And yeah, and Jenny Durkin, the DA who prosecuted him and made her career off of him, basically, she holds this press conference taking credit for, we were not going to let Colton Harris Moore profit off of his crimes by selling his story. We're going to make him give that money to the victims. He was going to give that money anyway. That's the only reason he even negotiated his story. This is not a fame-seeking person. He doesn't even want the movie made. He hopes the movie doesn't even get made. Why it never got made, I don't know, because apparently the Oscar-winning screenwriter who wrote the Harvey Milk movie called Milk he sat with Colton many times, and he was supposedly going to write this script, and Robert Zemeckis, who did the Back to the Future trilogy, Forrest Gump, was in talks to direct it. Just it never happened. It never happened. And it probably won't happen. And Colton is actually very happy about the fact that it's not going to happen. So my point of that being, he's not a fame-seeking, attention-seeking guy. He's actually quite the opposite. And I wish that I could get a hold of him just to talk to him privately, because I'm really curious as to where he's at, in his endeavors right now. I'm really really curious about that, because I like to think that we became friends, but he vanished. So but he just kind of does that, and then out of nowhere he'll just contact me out of the blue like, what's up? But he has not in a couple of years now, and I miss him. I miss him a lot. So I really would like to hear from him again. But I think I am going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Tomorrow, we'll see what happens. But tomorrow, the court date is set for Ruby Franke. And I will not be surprised if she gets out on bail. I will not be shocked. Please don't be surprised if she gets out on bail. I'm sure bail will be set for her. The only thing that she came up, if we all listened to the 911 dispatch, and the 911 dispatch said that all she had was a traffic infraction. So not having a record, and I mean, is she possibly a flight risk? Yeah, I'd say so. But I mean, her not having a record, I'm going to say she's probably going to get granted bail. And it's probably not even going to be in the millions of dollars. So do not be surprised if she gets out on bail, folks. But whatever updates we have, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. There's a lot of other people talking about this, and they will too. But thank you for joining in, and thank you for tuning into this stream to listen to the 911 call from the neighbor, that Good Samaritan who helped that 12-year-old boy when he needed him most. And I think it's a beautiful thing that man did. So anyways, guys, you guys are the best, and I'm really grateful for you. Thank you for joining me in the middle of the day. I might go live again later on tonight just to hang out, see what's up, just to kick it with you guys. Who knows? We'll see. But anyways, I love you guys very much, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.